You ever talk to God? I mean, most of us do. Most people do. We live in a country where almost everybody has been exposed to religion. And no matter who that God is, the God of the Bible, the God of the Quran, the Bob, whatever God there is, you probably talked to him at some point in your life. Has he ever talked back? I mean, literally talked back. Coming from Western New York, I was born into a Catholic family, like I think most people in Western New York are. Um, Catholic or Jewish, Lutheran. Anyhow, I was born in Western New York. I was born into a Catholic family, and we went to church every Sunday, like good Catholics do. And I did the CCD classes, and I did my first communion, and all that. So when I was 17, after I graduated high school, I joined the Army, and when I left home, I left the church because it was the most boring 30 minutes of the week, especially when you're a kid. And I really just didn't feel like church was my kind of thing. So I went through life not going to church. As a matter of fact, most of my life was pretty dark. I mean, dark. I played in metal bands. I was goth before there was goth, all in black, everything. Long hair, loud, extreme music. That was my thing. I was in a band called Rue Morgue where we used to do seances before we play, trying to invoke Satan into our shows. I've always had a thing for that kind of imagery, the satanic skulls, morbid imagery. So, just to skip ahead, after living this dark life and meeting the woman who eventually got me stuck in Illinois, after a couple years of being here, we split up. And when she walked out the door, I knew I was stuck here. I mean, I already hated being here. I just wanted to go home every day, but now I knew there was no going home. My kids were here, and I had to be here for my kids. So I got really depressed. Uh, Job, not good. Wasn't making good money. Was struggling. Didn't feel like I fit in here. I wasn't making friends, and now I was stranded in central Illinois, which to me was just the worst place I'd ever been in my life. So I got really depressed. Well, I had this friend, Kevin. And Kevin used to say to me all the time, "You need to come to church, man." And I used to laugh and say, "That's not for me, man." I was like, "You can keep asking, but I'm not going." And he had a friend of his named Jim, who was a pastor without a church. He was a former outlaw biker, big guy, who had changed his ways and found God and was very strong in his faith. Good for him. But he used to say to me, "I'm going to save you, hip." I say, "Dude, I've tried the God thing, man. It just doesn't work for me. You understand that if God's up there thinking about me, the only thing he's saying is to his buddies, 'Hey, man, watch what I do to him next.'" Ha 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 ha. Big laugh. So the depression just got worse and worse. I mean, I really hated my life. I hated everything. I was just a hate-filled person. And I had this roommate who lived in my basement. He worked third shift. And every night I'd see him heading down the street going to work. And I would throw myself on the couch and I would just sob. I mean, just cry my eyes out because I was so lost. And I started talking to this God that I didn't believe in, but not to pray to him. I wasn't asking for him to come into my life and save me or give me salvation. Nothing like that. I asked him to kill me. I would say to him, "Look, man, I don't believe in you. I don't think it's real. I think it's an illusion. I think it's a cult. I was the atheist that could battle Christians on every front. I could talk about the 13 other Messiah type figures who had existed before Jesus and, all of it. I said, so prove it. Prove you're real. Kill me. Take me out. My kids are young. They'll get over it. My mom was already in a nursing home with Alzheimer's. I didn't have any friends. I mean, I wasn't hearing from people back home, so just kill me. Because I serve no purpose to this life. Every morning I would wake up still alive, and I would just be more and more depressed and just lost and lonely and sad and broken. So one day I said to Kevin, all right, man, if I go to church one time, will you get off my back? Will you leave me alone? And he said, yeah, man, just one time. I said, great. When? Where? He said, well, we go to Riverside. It's a church in downtown Peoria. It's a big one. I said, yeah, I know where it is. He said, we'll show up about 8:30. He goes, they have a coffee shop. We'll have coffee and a donut, and then we'll go up, and the service starts about 9 o'clock. And here, I grew up Catholic. I'm like, cool. I live 10 minutes away from the church. I'll be home by 9:45. And he laughed. He said, you might be home by 11. I was like, what the fuck, man? I said, dude, I'm not sitting in some place I don't want to be on my only day off because I was working 6 days a week at the time trying to make some money. I said, I'm not going to sit there for all this time. If I'm going, you're driving because I'm not going to do it. So him and his wife picked me up on one Sunday. We went down to Riverside, went to the coffee shop. It was pretty nice. Had coffee and a donut. Met some people. Great. So we go up to the sanctuary, and these two sit in the front row. So we get to the front row. I'm sitting there. I don't know anybody. I'm not comfortable. I don't want to be there. And the lights go down, and a band comes out. And I'm like, I've never seen anything like this before. A band. So everybody stands up. I'm standing there in the front row. I don't know the music. I don't know the words. And all I'm thinking is everybody behind me is burning holes into the back of my head thinking, who's the heretic in the front row? Who's the non-believer infiltrating our church? So anyhow, they play a couple songs, and the associate pastor, Dave Jane, comes out. He's a good guy. He's got his own church in Washington, Illinois now. He's British, and he starts making announcements and talking about things going on with the church. And then they show a video about missionary work that they're doing in the UK. So I'm thinking, why are they doing missionary work in the place where the battle for Christianity waged the hardest, where really the foundation for modern day Christianity was forged? I later found out that people in the UK don't go to church. Like 1% go once a year. So he did his thing, and then John King comes out. He's the pastor, and he's a short little Welsh guy, and he's balding on top. He's very charismatic. He's actually got a little bit of Southern Baptist fire to the way he preaches. He's really into it. And he's doing a series about Joseph and how his brothers are plotting to kill him. And of course, if you know the story, his oldest brother decides, no, let's not kill him. Let's throw him in a pit. And if he survives, we'll sell him to traders. So John does this. He branches off and he says, maybe some of you are in a pit. You could be in a relationship pit, or you could be in a financial pit. I'm sitting there with my arms crossed, and I'm thinking, I'm like, if there's a pit, I'm in it. I'm in every pit there is. And now, I've told this story 1,000 times. I mean, I've told this story so many times, I don't even know if this is exactly how it happened anymore. I mean, I know it is. But, it's like anything else. When you say it so many times, it's like a lie. It becomes true. But this is what happened. All of a sudden, everything disappeared. And I was in nothing. You cannot understand the meaning of nothing until you've been in it. There was no light, no sound, no people around me, no building, no chair under my ass. There was nothing. And I heard this voice start booming around me. It said, "You're listening to Satan, who is the king of lies, and you're believing his lies. God has a better plan for you. God has a better life for you." On and on and on. And then I was back. These two are sitting on either side of me like nothing happened. And I've just got tears just billowing down my cheeks. And the service is going on, and I'm lost in this state of shock. And then when the service ended, everyone's kind of hanging out, and Dave Jane walks by, and Kevin says, "Oh, hey, Dave, I want you to meet my buddy Hip." And he turns and goes to shake my hand, and he looks at me and he says, "Are you okay?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Did something happen to you?" I said, "Yeah, something did." He said, "You ever been here before?" I said, "No, I don't know." He said, "Are you coming back?" I said, I think I'm supposed to." So we left, and for 6 months I was in a different state of mind. It was bizarre. It was like I had God vision. I mean, I could tell people who were hypocrites or who were lying or who were honest and sincere. It just, like, I think if God gives people gifts, the one he gave me was discernment. And I've always been very perceptive about people, but I could really just see people for who they were. And this went on, like I said, for about 6 months. I got baptized. I went to the newcomers classes. I became a member of the church. I threw myself into it. I did plays. I sang an aria in a Christmas play. It was a remake of A Christmas Carol, although instead of finding and talking to, the spirit of Christmas, it was the spirit of Jesus. The rock star I always wanted to be, I became for this church. They played my story on the video screens. They had somebody followed Kevin and I around one day and did a whole thing about, our lives and our friendship and how I came to the church. It was incredible. But over time, the church changed and I changed, and that feeling kind of drifted away. And then I moved out of Peoria. I moved to Pekin, and the drive was difficult. I had my kids every other weekend and work, and it's just stopped going. And of course, like most people, I'm not a church person anymore. And my faith, I'm not sure exactly what it is. I don't know if the Bible's literally real or if the story is exactly the way it's told. I know there's something out there just because of experiences I've had, and I'll talk about those in this series. But yeah, that was the day God talked to this atheist who didn't believe in him. Hey, look, if you like this story, this is the point where I'm supposed to tell you, like the video, leave a comment. Trust me, I'll reply because I don't get a lot of comments yet. Subscribe, and I'll keep them coming. All right? Have a good day.